you been to camp before?
No.
So this is your first time?
This is
Oh!
first camp.
No way!
For the entire time we've been traveling, I've been like dreading camp because I know Josh is gonna be there, and I'm like, I can't. I literally can't. I mean,
It was really bad.
it was bad.
Like,
There were nights when I cried because I'm like, I can't do this. And like, there was the whole situation where Elena couldn't come, and I'm like, trade me with Elena. She needs to be there. Like, I don't need to be there if Josh is gonna be there. Like,
and I the entire time was like, no, she can take my spot because I don't know why, but Beth, you were supposed to be at camp. Like, you're supposed to. You have to be at camp.
so this whole time I'm dreading camp. Whatever. We get there, and like the Chi Alpha kids aren't coming until Monday. And so we're like all packing and whatever, and that night we're staying in the hotel. So we have like a good deal, and it's, you know, air conditioned, and we like unload all of our crap into the hotel.
A ton of crap. Like, instruments.
We brought 3
and-
instruments and like recording equipment because, like, you know, we have our own room, so we're just gonna like make music while we're there, obviously. I like unpack everything, it's nice, and like we're done like setting up as much as we can set up, and Autumn's like, Beth, you need to promise me to try that even though Josh is here, you're gonna try to like let God do his thing and like let camp happen to you. And I like promised her that, and
I'm like, Beth, you have to let
Oh my
camp
goodness.
happen to you. Like, you can't let Josh ruin it. You can't, like, you have to try to let God do what he's gonna do. You gotta let camp happen to you. And she's like, I will try, but I don't want to. It's gonna hurt so bad, and blah, blah, blah. So now it's Monday. The kids show up at 2.
the Chi Alphans don't show up till like 2 either. They're like so late, it's embarrassing. So like Monday happens, Dylan is our speaker, and he's like talking about life and death and taxes, and then, you know, the cute evangel worship team gets up on stage and they're like doodle doodle doo, and after service he's like, everybody come to the altars, and like everyone's like swarming the altars, and I'm sitting back here like, I should go up, but I don't want to. I've had earplugs in this whole time, and the music is hurting my ears, and it's horrible, and so I'm like, okay, I can't go into the altar. I'm gonna go out, like, there's a little door, like, right behind the stage. So I'm like, go out, and I sit just outside, and I'm, like, talking to God, and I'm praying. He's like, our relationship isn't healthy. He's like, you don't know how to ask for help. You need me, but you don't even know how to ask me to help you. And he's like, you need to start asking for help. And I'm like, no. He's like, okay, we'll make it easier, and like you can ask people before you ask me. And I'm like, okay, I trust Autumn. I'll go ask Autumn for help. The vision I had in my head was like to get her and like some of the other Rollins kids to come pray for me, right? And so like I like summon up my courage because I'm like totally not into this. I'm like, I'm trying so hard, God. And Autumn, I'm keeping my promise. I'm trying so hard.
I saw Beth walk out, and I was like, dang it. And so I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, I'm gonna chase after her, and God's like, nope. And I was like, why? Like, I have to chase after her. Like, I love her. I want to chase her. And he's like, nope. She's got to do this. She's got to ask for help. Like, she's got to. And I was like, why?
And I walk in, and she's like right inside the door, and standing right next to her is Josh. And I'm like, boom! Can't do it! Can't do it! Okay, God, maybe next time. And I like go to the back of the room, and I'm like sitting there, and the music is so loud because, you know, they're doing the altar call worship, and it's so loud, and I'm sitting there like plugging my ears and crying because it hurts so much, and I'm like, I can't do this. So I go back into the little leaders lounge, and I'm like just sitting there on the couch, and freaking Josh walks through, and like I'm like, are you for real? And then I'm like, I need to forgive Autumn because it's not her fault. And so I like go back into the sanctuary and whatever.
She like walks up to me. I need to talk to you, but don't talk to me until I tell you.
Yeah, practice gets out at like 11:30, and like we're tired. All this has happened. I go back into the leadership room like looking for Autumn so that we can go like to our hotel room to bed. And Ruth stops me at the door, and she's like, did they tell you? Did they tell me what? And she's like, they're kicking you out of your room. And I'm like, what? Because of reasons that basically they couldn't tell us, he was taking our room, and we got kicked out.
All of the campers and students are already down in the dorms asleep, and we have to try to sneak in and find a bed.
We ended up like throwing all of our instruments and recording stuff in the leader's room, just in the corner. After that, I'm like packing my clothes into my tote because I had like unpacked it all, and I can't do it anymore. Autumn is just like standing kind of watching me like pack, and I just like throw my stuff down, and I just turn into her and hug her and just start sobbing and like crying and telling her like the whole thing that had just happened. Probably the worst cry I've ever had. It's like the most I've ever heard. So what ended up happening is she showed me the bed in her room, and then Autumn like just crept
Found a
into
room.
another room.
Because
And,
then
like,
Brandy
found
was
the
with
bed.
her and she was the
Yeah.
leader, so she's like, here, I can take you in with me and blah blah blah. So it worked out.
Thursday morning, I was like thinking about everyone's stories because they were like sharing testimonies. They're like, yeah, like I had this happen, like addiction was broken, like blah blah blah. And I'm like, my story like is kind of lame. Like I like kind of secretly hoped that God would just be like, poof, you're happy, you forgave Josh, like you forgave everybody, you're okay. And I'm like, I mean, there's tonight, but that just hasn't happened for me, you know?
But she recognized the progress and was like, you know, yeah, I mean, I kind of wished you would do it, but like, it's probably gonna be progressive.
He preaches and brings the word, and at the end, he's like, okay, like Wyoming is the only district that hasn't had a revival yet. Like, are you guys gonna be the people who brings it in? And it's like, this isn't an altar call, this is a commission call. Like, if you're going to be a part of this, like, come up here with one hand raised. And I'm like, all right, like, I can do that. Like, I mean, I'm not there yet. I definitely can't help bring a revival at this point yet. Like, nah, like, I'm just not there. But, like, I have faith that, like, as soon as, like, even maybe this next semester, I can be a part of this. So I, like, go up there, and it's, like, really loud, and they sing this great song. And at the end of it, they, like, give this huge shout. It's huge, and it's like lasts for a solid 2 minutes.
Like
It's
they just keep on, so they end
ridiculous.
the song, and the kids just keep on screaming. They just keep on going and just screaming and screaming, and like Jesus and like all this stuff. Like they just keep on going. Like evangel worship team's like done. They're like, what is going on? Like this is crazy.
At the end of that shot, I was in the back, and then they like just kept going, and I'm like, my ears are killing me. These kids started getting up and like preaching the word and like encouraging each other and being like, yo, dude, this is a real thing. We're going to do this.
Revival's gonna happen.
And I don't know why or like exactly what prompted it, but I was like, and I just like bowed down, and I'm like fighting and like struggling, and like I'm hurting really intensely again in my chest. At one point, I'm like, if I could just like fall over and die, and like that can be it. But I don't want that, so get up and get to your seat. So I'm like summoning my energy and like getting up, and I go sit in my seat, and I'm like, man, back in the corner, like just still like struggling and like fighting this. And I see Autumn and Ruth, and they're like standing over there, and I'm like, I don't want to ask for help again, but I can like feel my heart closing up, and it's like, if I like don't do something, this moment's gonna end, and like it's gonna be done. Like I'll be done. Okay, I'm gonna count to 7. And if like this moment is still here at the end of my count of 7, like I will go over there and like ask for help. The moment's still going, like Andrew's like inviting more students up and whatever, and I'm like, okay. And I like just stumble over there, and I like grab Autumn's hand, and I grab Ruth's hand, and I pop them on my head, and like I don't even say anything. They just glomp onto me and like start praying like crazy. Like Ruth is on this side of me, and she's like just going and like just going at it, and I was like right on my front, like like saying, like just praying in tongues and tongues and tongues and tongues and stuff. And I'm like just crying because I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. Like I don't even know what I'm fighting, but it hurts. At one point, Autumn's like, we're not leaving until this is finished. And I'm like, no.
Okay, pause. From the second she grabbed my hand, like she grabbed my hand and put it on her head, I don't really remember. I really don't. I don't really remember. So like I do remember I like instantly like I was just speaking in tongues, like praying in the spirit, like super hard, and then from then on I thought that's all I did. I knew the gist. I was like, it's happening, like this is it. Beth is like fighting under there. We're all going ham apparently. Like
Autumn's over here like, this, like we're not leaving until this is finished. Like you are going to be completely healed, you are going to be completely restored, completely released, completely renewed, and it's going to be permanent. I like stop crying, and I'm like, okay, like let's settle down and do this. So I like started talking to God in Polish. I don't really want to do this. Like I don't want to heal, I don't want to forgive, I don't want it to be this fast because I'm scared. And the Polish word for I'm scared is boję się. But it's kind of a double meaning because it's really similar to the Polish phrase for like I'm warring or I'm battling and fighting for this. So I just kept repeating it, and like the first time I said it, boję się, I'm afraid. And then it's like boję się, I'm fighting this. I'm talking to God, and I'm like, okay, like what do I do now? So I like switch into English, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. I'm like, in English, these two can understand, they can witness what's happening, and like it'll be done. And so I just like start confessing in English, like I'm afraid that this friendship that I have with them is going to quit. I'm afraid that like this hole in my heart, like it's open now because like there's not a spear inside of it, but I'm afraid that instead of joy getting stuck in there, it's gonna be something worse. I was just so afraid of like all these things, and I like was just speaking them out. I was like, okay, in the name of Jesus and by the power of the Spirit, and I'm like, I break the chains of depression and like the walls of isolation. Like I cast out the spirit of fear and like all of these things, and it was just like whoosh. Autumn, who apparently doesn't remember this, is like, come on, like you gotta finish this, and I'm like, no, I don't want to. And so I'm like in Polish, God, I don't want to, I'm not ready for this. And she's like, come on, like this is gonna be done. And I'm like, ah,
She like
no.
yelled.
And she's like, come on. I'm like, give me a second to come on. I forgive, and I'm like, I forgive Josh, I forgive American church, I forgive Americans, I forgive like American pastors and leaders and like everyone who's like not listened to the Spirit of God or like has ignored the Spirit of God on my behalf, and like just like forgave it all and cast out some more fear again. And I was like, whoa. It felt like I was like on the surgery table and like my clothing was completely drenched in blood. And like in that moment, like the blood was gone and I was just in white. This is a thing, and if this is a thing, then it means that like this future that Autumn is always talking about, where like we're gonna do music together and like change the world, is gonna be a real thing. So I'm like, okay, if it's gonna be a real thing, then I in this moment with all the anointing of Jesus and the Spirit on my words, I'm gonna speak life into it. So I'm like, okay, like God, like we were at Bethel and like he's talking about unity of your church. So like I pray that our ministry is like going to create the unity, like help facilitate and create the unity of the church. And I'm like, I like really believed on Wednesday that something new was gonna break out from the Spirit, like that there was gonna be this huge revelation, like this new thing that the Spirit had done that we've never seen before. I'm like, it didn't happen last night, that's okay, like we're gonna like usher that in.
This is like when I came to, and she was like speaking life over everything and over us, and like apparently, obviously I was supposed to hear it. This is awesome, like this is so cool.
Yeah. I had to lay on the floor for a little bit, like at the end, because I'm like, dude, that spirit of fear is like so familiar and like close. Like I've been dealing with that thing for years, and it's like already trying to sneak back in, like this isn't real, like God hasn't confirmed that this is real and whatever. And I'm just like, nope. I feel like a new person. You look like a new person.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? That's what I said.
Yeah.
I was like, holy cow.
Oh,
It was cool.
it's done.
It's done.
Wow.
Beth, your first year of camp.
In a
This is what
nutshell.
you get. Like, this is like, you had like the most extreme first year of camp experience ever. You had one of the most extreme camp experiences, period, because you got brought to your lowest of low on Monday, like the hardest you've ever cried, the worst you've ever felt, the most pain you've ever felt like in your life on Monday, up to Thursday being a completely new person and like completely healed from all of it. Like, within, like, that's crazy. My camp experience revolves around her camp experience,
Right.
and so like you basically heard all of it, and it was just about like, for me it was more like getting really pumped and like excited about what God's doing in everyone else's lives. I was happy to be on my A game, like to be with her. The downward spiral that has been happening for the past like 8 months, really, like it all spiraled down to Monday night. All I kept on hearing is, she has to be here, she has to be here. And then I was like, okay God, I trust you, like whatever it takes for her to like get healed from this, even if that means her being in so much pain, like do it. It like had to happen. So that was like a cool moment, like me having to trust God in that, in him to do stuff with that. And so I'm really glad it did, obviously. Like I'm really glad she toughed it out and like was able to get through it. That was camp in a nutshell, and like it was awesome.